We are live.
Good evening, everyone. So today we are
Good
here
evening,
for an
guys.
alumni
We're doing well.
today we are here for an alumni session. Go and ask your friends to join fast because this is going to be an incredible session. And we'll wait for 10 more minutes for other people to join. Placement committee is conducting many sessions. So far, we had sessions on the development, DSA, and today we are going to have a session on analytics and consulting. And the guest that we have, you guys will get to know very soon. And I think many of you already knows. Uh, his his Anwesh Paya.
So, guys, analytics and consulting is like the second most sought sector after software, and currently the jobs are soaring in this sector. So, yeah, I guess this session will be helpful for you all. So, yeah, please wait for 5 to 10 minutes.
Guys, go and ask your friends to join the session fast. We'll be beginning the session shortly.
Also, guys, if you
Meanwhile,
have any questions, you can, yeah, you can drop them in the chat section. We will take that at the end of the session.
yeah, any sort of queries related to any field or anything you want to ask to your seniors, and you can simply write it in the chat box. We'll try to answer them at the end. Hi, Ritvik. So tell us why, like as far as I know, you're placed in analytics and consulting, right?
Yeah, I'm placed at currently Fractal Analytics. So yeah,
Yeah, congratulations. What's the interesting,
same.
like fascinating thing about analytics field? What fascinates you
Like,
more about analytics?
well, I guess analytics is easier than software, so that's why I chose it as my domain. So that's one of the reasons I joined analytics and consultancy sector. Also, it's fun playing with numbers and data. So that's one of the reasons. So, what was
That's
your reason you joined in the analytics and consulting sector, Rishita?
yeah, I like solving the problems, like playing with the numbers, as you said. So that's also one of the primary reasons. So yes, solving the problems, having an analytical mind, and using like the every possible approach. How can you solve a problem? So this is why I chose this field.
That's nice.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we'll be starting in 2 minutes. Please wait. So, good evening, guys. Hope you are doing great. I am Ritvik, currently a final year student at the Department of Ceramic Engineering. and also a training coordinator for this academic year, is joined here with my co-host Rishita for another alumni session with Anwesh Bhaiya. So, Rishita, you may go on.
Hello everyone, myself Rishita Singh, and I'm thrilled to announce that I'll be host for today's session. And I'm currently a final year student in Industrial Design Department. So without any further ado, let's begin the session. So today we have with us an esteemed alumni and a distinguished guest whose journey exemplifies the spirit of excellence and leadership. Currently excelling as a decision analytics professional at ZS Associates, Anwesh Bhaiya is a senior from Industrial Design Department of 2023 batch. And we are privileged to have him here to share the insights of his professional journey and guide us with his invaluable experience. So let's welcome Anwesh Bhaiya and make the alumni session a memorable one.
Hello guys,
Hello
could you just
Bhaiya.
confirm if I'm audible and
Hi,
visible?
Bhaiya.
Yeah, so cool, great. Okay, so I think you guys introduced me before I could introduce myself. That's okay. So hello everyone and very good evening. Thanks for having me and great that you could turn up on a Sunday evening. I'm sure you should be having some plans after this. I'll try to make it as crisp and possible. We'll wrap it up as quickly as possible. So, you guys introduced me already, but let me just introduce myself again. So, hello everyone. My name is Anvesh, and I graduated from the branch of industrial design in 2023. So it's been fairly recent, and I'm currently working as an decision analytics associate at ZS Associates. I was initially recruited as a business operation associate, but I think due to some internal restructuring, I got into the decision analytics side. And I joined CS in the month of July. So it's been like you could say almost a fair half year. And yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for introducing yourself. And it's great to have you here.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for taking your time out to help out our juniors. We will start right now with the questions itself.
Yeah,
Rishita, you
sure.
may go on.
Yeah, sure. So, Bhaiya, firstly tell us, like, did you have an internship in the same sector, and what kind of advice do you want to give to our juniors who don't have any internship yet?
Yeah, so basically, I'm not sure if it would align with exactly with the consulting analytics sector, but I did my internship from IM Calcutta. It was mostly a research internship, and I had got into it by means of sending cold emails to professors. It was more of an tedious task to do so because you have to send cold emails to professors that have written very specifically in their academic sites that please do not mail me for internship purposes, but you do that anyways. So it took like 2 to 3 months to just get one response from one professor that he was kind enough to say yes to me, and of course I wouldn't have denied that. So I did my internship under a field called genetic algorithm, which was I don't think is related a lot to consulting and analytics because the sort of work I've been doing currently when I try to see if there's a common ground between that. I don't find a lot, but yeah, I got to learn a lot from that genetic algorithm thing. It was something new to me, and that's where I actually started a little bit of Python learning because that's where I actually implemented it. Before that, I had zero usage of it. I just knew certain Python things, but I never had a full hands-on experience on it. So when I started doing the internship, at least that's when the professor asked me to, I run the entire codes or write the entire codes on myself. So it was supposed to be a 2 months internship, but it being remote, it got stretched to around 2.5, 3 months ish. And yeah, I had the liberty to continue to stretch that because of the remote thing. And that was pretty much about my internship. That's how it panned out. So I think your next question was how would you guide someone if someone doesn't have an internship? Well, as you know, there are two forms of it, the on campus and the off campus ones. So I'm pretty sure you guys are working on your on campus ones. But yeah, there's always a little bit of an uncertainty like whether I'm going to get into it or not and all. So one thing that you always should keep in your head is that, even when I was in third year and second year, It was mostly about how can I fill up my CV? How can I make it full and make it look beautiful and great? But trust me, guys, as you grow up, you'll realize that skills matter a lot. So if you have a lot of things in your CV, but you don't have enough substance to, sort of corroborate that, you might actually face a little bit of issue in terms of actually selling yourself in front of any interview or any sort of internship. So as long as you have something on your plate that you can actually, substantiate upon, that's where things become a little bit more easier for you. So let's say, for example, I had pretty much made up my mind that I had to go to something of a research internship because it was a wee bit difficult for guys from a particular branch like us to, get into an on-campus ones. So when I tried applying to these, starting mailing these professors, it was, as I said, a very tedious job, and you almost lose hope almost every single week because I had sort of kept a track. Like you have no idea you're sending mails to professors, but you have no idea have I sent this professor a mail or not. So I used to keep track in an Excel sheet, like I have sent this professor a mail this month, and I'll be sending this again maybe next month or something. So it takes time, and as I would say that on-campus thing is a must for you. You'll have to pounce upon every sort of opportunity that comes into you through your, I think, the placement groups. But even if it doesn't work out for you, all you have to do is you have to go to LinkedIn and search for opportunities, and that's how it works out. To be honest, being shy in that aspect is not going to help you out because at the end of the day, you can just ask yourself one question: or what's gonna like how much it's going to cost me to just go around and search for opportunities on LinkedIn. It's not a very big task or a very big ask on your side either. So that's what I can say to you. And about the research internship parts, if ever you feel like giving out hope, like no one's replying me, I'm not going to get anything out of it, just keep doing it. Someone's going to reply to you, and that's how it usually happens. Okay, I mean, when you're on the verge of losing hope, someone or the other just professors like pops up. Okay, hi, so I might be able to help you out in this and all. Just keep track of things. It's going to be okay. It's not a very big deal.
Thank you so much, Priya. That was really very insightful. And I hope many students have got the answer to their questions. Moving on to further, the next question, Ritvik.
Bharat, how has been your experience at ZS so far? So, like, please describe your past year at ZS.
Yeah. So I joined ZS on July, I think, to be precise, 17th of July, very precisely. It's like almost been a 6 month journey for me. I haven't worked there for a year yet. Yeah, I think as any new fresher, when you go out to join your first corporate job, you'll feel overwhelming because you have no idea what you're doing. And it's not just my case, it's going to be your cases too when you go to your jobs. Like you realize, yeah, kya ho raha hai? I'm doing certain things, but I have no idea why am I doing it. I'm just following a certain set of methods and a certain set of rules, a certain pathway. But the dynamics that goes behind those steps, I have no idea. Let's say, for example, when I was new to the job, I was refreshing a weekly report, and after 5, 6 refreshes, I think my senior asked me. So she just pulled out the sheet and said me, "Okay, Anvesh, what does this number mean to you?" I said, "I've got no idea what this number means." She's like, "You've been refreshing it for almost 5 times now. You should know that." I said, "Yeah, but I've been following the process that you just said me. I never thought about why this number is actually here." So she said, like, "Okay, I'm giving you a day and you have to deep dive into this entire sheet. And the next day when I ask you anything about this sheet, you should be able to answer that to me." So that's when I realized that you need to have a certain intent towards learning. I mean, every firm says you that you need to be a little bit vigilant towards learning and all. The learning curve is steep and all. That only comes into action only when you are more motivated to learn. Okay, so when these people questioned me certain times, I realized, okay, I need to make a deeper dive into things. So I think if uh, if you ask Anvesh, who was 3 months ago, like, do you have any idea as to what is going on in your current professional life? I would say, I'm sorry, I know things are pretty wayward, have no idea what's happening. But the thing is, more try to put yourself into the process. It's more about how you perceive things in a very particular manner. So when I was in ZS initially, I even had the same thing. Like I had this intent to learn. The point being, it was a little bit difficult for me to at least learn things. So as I said, I think in the previous answer, what do you need to do? I said learn skills. So your skills are very important. So what happens there is that even if you have a certain approach that you want to pressure test, the thing what happens is that when you lack skills, you just sort of fail to test that. So let's say I'm trying to write a more effective formula for a certain thing, but I'm not being able to do that because I just don't know how to do it. Even though I have a process in my head, I might not be using that process effectively because I just don't know how to. So 3 months ago, like when I started CS4 5 months ago, I couldn't even apply a simple sum ifs, you could say. It's a very fairly simple formula in Excel. But currently, I've been automating reports on a regular basis. So that's the sort of shift, that sort of transition you make. So it takes time, and it's okay if you're taking time. Everyone has a different learning pace. So that's how it has been. So starting off at ZS, I would say the first 15 days are chill for everyone. You get paid half a month's salary for literally doing nothing. That's your honeymoon phase. You're gonna love it. That happens in almost every firm, so don't worry. Your training period is your honeymoon phase. You're gonna love it. It's great. And what happens particularly at ZS is that you've been staffed to a particular team after your mandatory training period is off. So I was staffed to a team called BMS. When you go, if you ever go and join there, you'll realize that BMS is basically ZS's biggest client. And after the staffing is done, you move to a different sector of the place where these teams actually sit, and you interact with them as to what your work's going to be in the near future and everything. So when I was staffed at BMS, I mean, when you sit with your seniors and see them talking about things, you have literally no idea what's going on because they're talking some shit they have been working for the last 2 3 years, and you just joined like what 2 days ago. So you sit right there and think like, what's happening? Okay, guys, I get it. I'm supposed to refresh this report. You gave me the raw data to do it, but okay, could you give me any context as to what you guys are actually discussing about? They give you in context, but you still fail to understand. Like, okay, Rendo, I'll just learn it as I grow. So starting off was a little bit of a shaky ground. Like for everyone, it would be a shaky ground. But to give a little bit of context as to where I work in ZS and what sort of work I do in particular. So I work for something called international markets in the BMS team, and I cater to the Canada team. And what BMS actually does is BMS manufactures drugs for different diseases, like, for example, immuno-oncology that deals with cancer, for hematology, for innovative medicines, cardiovascular diseases. So they produce drugs, and we sort of forecast their sales and let them know that what sort of time frame you're looking at the future. So this is something we basically do. So I do two kinds of thing. One is called reporting, and one is called forecasting. Reporting is basically letting the clients know that how your sales have been in the near past, you could say. Like, for example, how did your company do last week, or how did your company do last month, or it can be as close as yesterday. Or forecasting is something, as the name suggests, you forecast their sales, how your sales going to be in the near future. For example, this year or next 3 years, depending upon the sort of forecasting you're doing. So that's what I basically do in ZS. And I have majorly worked on both reporting and forecasting since I've joined ZS. It was primarily reporting initially, but as the 3 months marked crossed, I had to work on forecasting because starting this January, I'll be working on my first forecasting cycle. I'll be projecting sales for the next year per se. So this has been pretty much about my life at ZS. Is there anything in particular you want to know about that?
Like, Bhaiya, is there any team outings or something fun like that in your daily routine?
Okay, guys. See, this is a very interesting part. So the team outings, the team visits, your team parties, that varies team to team. Like if I were in a different client, my party schedule will look a bit different. But trust me, in our team has been a very chill team. Like you can say chill team. So when we start, I think in the first 2 months itself, we had around 7 8 parties. We were like, what is happening? Like we come here to work, I get it, but you just can't, party almost every weekend with your seniors. And what helps you a lot is that these guys are not very old. Like when I joined, I was 22. So these guys were around 25, 27 at max, nothing more than that. So When you sit in a table with these sort of people, you don't feel very alienated out. You have the same sort of discussions, and sometimes you even feel like you're in college. When there are chill days, people just hang around and chill. You just don't work. They sit on tables, they talk, they hang out. That's what happens. That's more of it. Team outings and all that don't happen on a very frequent occasion. But yeah, as I said, depends on team to team. Every team has a different schedule, a different budget, a different space. So given that you have different sort of parties and hangouts, outings and all. But yeah, they do happen very frequently. That's for sure.
That was really exciting to hear, Via, and I hope students are eager to join ZS next year. So,
Yeah, sure.
continuing, Rishita.
Yeah, sure. So the next question that we have is, Priya, how much do you think like MS Excel or Power BI is important for a data analyst role? And what other tools would you like to suggest to students to start preparing for this role?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that I'm not sure about any other tools or not, but to be very precise, you should know that Excel is like the holy Bible for data analysts. And if you learn anything or not, you learn Power BI, you learn Tableau, or you do not even learn that, it would hardly make a marginal difference as much as you it would if you do not know Excel. Personally talking, when I started working in CS, so I had little to no knowledge of Excel. Yeah, I mean, you could say on a very basic level, on very simple formulas. But when I use like complex advanced Excel formulas currently, I realize and look back like if that person is to come up and fill my shoes currently, that would struggle a lot. It honestly matters if you have a good grasp of Excel, because it's okay that you'll learn a little bit slow. But the thing is, the more earlier you start Excel, it's better for you, because even in ZS, what happens is that it's like the bread and butter for any ZSer, okay? And the level of strictness they follow while using Excel is that I think it's sort of in practice in almost every consulting firm that you use Excel without your trackpad and mouses. Okay, it's a sin sort of if you use mouse and trackpad. You have to only use Excel with your keypad. That's it. You never use mouse or anything of that sort. So that's how strictly they use this policy. It's sort of in best practice. No one's gonna fire you for using a trackpad or a mouse, but it just makes you more skillful to use just trackpad and all. Okay, so the thing is, in Excel, Excel is just so vast that of course no one can know the entirety of it. So to give you a brief example, thing is we use something called the Pareto principle. Okay, what is it? It's called the 80-20 rule. Okay, so we use 20% of the things 80% of the time. Like we do not use a very extensive set of formulas or like the entire book of Excel formulas for it, but we use very specific formulas for very extensive set of time. Let's say there are 8 to 10 formulas that you use very extensively. So you don't need to learn like a hell lot of formulas, like keep them in a book or something. This you don't have to. You just need to know some advanced formulas that you'll be using very, extensively in the near future, and that's it for you. You don't have to learn a hell lot. So if you would ask me what one thing you guys should know about while entering a data analyst role, that definitely be Excel. See, when you talk about other data analytics tools such as Power BI or Tableau or anything, even you say competitive teams, like I work for Canada team, even some teams like France and Germany, these guys use Tableau, but most of their work still happens on Excel. Okay, they use just these Power BI and Tableau for a little bit of external purposes, but the majority of work still happens on Excel. All the models that you ever run, they happen on Excel. All the forecasting you run, it's all on Excel. And sometimes mostly people get this question that what's the difference between this data analyst and data scientist thing, that it usually kind of pops up in your head, like what's it all about? So I can give you that from an data analyst perspective. So the thing is, both of them deal with big data or lots of data. If you could give you a small example where I update a weekly sheet, the number of rows of data there is about 20,000, 25,000 rows of data. And that in column wise goes to around CA, CB sort of thing. So that's too much of data. That's what big data is. So what happens when a data scientist gets the data is like that person gets more of an unstructured data to use things. But we as data analysts have a very niched platform and we get a very structured form of data. So we don't have the process of refining it. And we do not need any sort of programming knowledge to, refine it in any sort of manner possible. And the sort of insights we try to pull it off is mostly a short-term thing, like next 2 years, next 5 years, that sort of thing. So we don't have a very long-term plan as to how we can pull a very synthesized, unit out of those data. So as an analyst, you draw very short-term insights with a very structured form of data to get very eventually, like very on a very frequent basis, you get that sort of structured data. So that's what basically happens in terms of data analysts and data scientists.
That was quite informative, Bhaiya. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights. Before we move on to the next question, I would like the students to put their questions in the comment section, and we'll be taking the top questions at the end of the session. So, yeah, Ritvik.
Uh, Bhaiya, what was your roadmap for preparation and what all resources did you use to prepare, like websites and resources, any case study competitions, and also how has Python and SQL shaped your placement journey?
Okay, I'll answer the second question first. Okay, Python and SQL thing.
Sure, Bhaiya. Yeah.
So, to be honest, when I was practicing for this analytics and consulting thing, I had no idea as to how much of this would give an proper impact to it. So during my intro, during when you asked about my internship, I said you about the Python thing. So that's where I actually started using hands-on Python. Before that, there was no Python. I just learned the language and I just kept it as is, and I never had the opportunity to use it. So when it came that internship, that's when I started using Python. See, then about SQL, what happened is when I was practicing SQL, I learned all the queries and all what like most people learn. But I knew that if I just keep it as is, it's going to be no use case to it. So I think I practiced from hacker rank and I just practiced to some level. That was okay. But thing is, sort of contribution it gives to towards like after your placement, I could say, like towards placement, the max you can say is you can sell yourself to the interviews by saying these are sort of skills I possess currently. And the thing is, it's sort of a risky take when you sort of sell yourself through skills. When you are very confident about your skills that, yeah, I know this up and down, ask me inside out questions about it, I'll be able to answer them, then it's no issue. But let's say you are an intermediate level in SQL and that you said that I'm great at SQL, you can just ask me anything you want. And the interviewer actually asks you a tough question and you fumble over there, that's a problematic issue for you. So the thing is, only try to say things in interviews you're very clear about. The same thing happened to me. So I did not try to flaunt a lot on SQL Python thing because I know that that's not my very strength. So if I try to play the interview around those things might not help me a lot. So if I have to tell you this contribution in the workspace, so just previously, as I said, it's primarily dealt with Excel, but there are certain instances where you might need SQL and Python. So like currently I haven't had the use case for it, but I'm pretty sure in the near future I'll be having some of it because I see my seniors using it for some use. And that's a little bit of advanced stuff. I haven't used that currently in job. It's just been 6 months. I'm pretty sure I'll be using it. So towards placement thing, it's all, of course, adds to your skill set. Like as usual, you could say that I have these languages. I know how to, extract data for SQL and all. But yeah, try to play safe as much as you can and do not try to make things out of your code.
That was really helpful for our juniors, Bhaiya. Bhaiya, can you please describe your roadmap for preparation and like
Yeah, of
other
course.
resources? Yeah.
Yeah, so I did not get into ZS through the usual on-campus process. So I got to ZS through something called Campus Beats. So the Campus Beats thing is a very it's something I don't know if this year they conducted that one, but last year it was. So Campus Beats, what they do is they what do we call conduct a case study competition nationwide, and they select the top I think 500 teams out of it, to which they give pre-placement interview opportunities. Sorry, yeah, pre-placement interview opportunities, and out of that you're allowed to choose whether you want to move forward for interviews or not. Okay, that's was sort of the case. So moving on to the case study round, we honestly had, I mean, the group that I was in or the group we had created, we didn't had a lot of knowledge as to how a case study is going to pan out. So the thing is, when we saw the case study for the first time, the notion we had previously is that we get 1 day to solve the case. And we were pretty casual about it. It's like, huh, ek din hai to kar hi lenge this. 5 people on the job and a entire day to solve a question, 4 questions, 5 questions. So we were very casual about it. Like, yeah, we're gonna do it. The thing is, the moment we opened the case study, we realized that, oh shit, we just have to do it within 3 hours. And that's where we all panicked. Okay, like there's still 5 people on it, but yeah, 24 hours reduced to 3 hours, so that makes an impact. So when it came into question, so we realized that this case study became particularly challenging due to the multitude of data it had. Because if you're given, let's say, 5 things to like 5 equation and 5 variables, these things are going to be used to get an answer. You know, these are the proper required skill sets for it. But let's say you have 20 equations, but you need to just have 2 variables output. So you need to first decide as to what 2 equations I need to use out of those 20 equations so that I'll get my answer. So that's what exactly the case and case study was. So there was too much data, but we had little knowledge as to what data we should use precisely to get these answers. Even though there were just 5 questions, but trust me, each question used to take at least 40, 50 minutes to solve. So there was no particular approach from our side as to how we will start this. We just took off an approach because we didn't know how to start. So we started later on, we realized that, okay, we need to check out as to what data are not useful to us. That was later when we tried to see that how things went wrong, where it went wrong. But starting off, that's how we started. So that was the case. We somehow got into the top 500 teams. We were pretty surprised at that moment. Like, how did we get into? Because we solved only 4 out of 5 questions. One we just left out of the blue. Like, ho hi nahi raha, let's just leave it. So, but thank God the first 4 questions were correct. So we just got into it. So about preparation strategy for case studies, I think we never had one. Okay, to answer your question, we to starting off, the process actually includes 3 rounds. So first was this case study. Second was a bit diluted version of the same case study, and the third one was interviews. So when the second round came to us, so we had questions from the first round. We never knew that second round is going to be the same questions but a little easier format. So when we had discussion about the first round within the friends that, okay, these are the things, this is where we went wrong and all. So that's when we had a fair enough idea that this is how we should approach things. So the second round was fairly easier for us to solve it, and that was individual round. So it was not, you don't had 5 brains to a single task. I think the major part of it came when it came to interviews. Okay, that's where you'll actually have to put some efforts into it, because I think during a mail that was forwarded to us from their side, like how your interviews are going to be actually structured. So they said that your interview is going to be actually 1 hour long. They're supposed to be 1 hour long. And they primarily would focus or revolve around, just 3, 4 factors. They said that they'll be asking you about the case study you had in your first round, and they'll ask you about guesstimates, they'll ask you about puzzles and riddles, and of course, the HR questions. But, an interview which is planned for 1 hour is never 1 hour. So it, of course, got stretched. Mine was around 1 hour, 40 minutes sort of interview. And I was, I think, vacationing with my family somewhere. The internet was so poor. But yeah, he still stretched it to 1 hour, 40 minutes. So that was sort of thing. Should I tell you about the preparation strategy for interviews currently, or do you have a separate section? I can continue if you
Yeah,
want.
if you could tell us more about like how did you prepare for the guesstimates and case studies? What like
Yeah, yeah.
resources did you refer? And is it
Hmm.
like the numbers? What numbers matters when it comes to case studies, or it's the approach that matters a lot?
Yeah,
And
see,
how
I
should we
think both.
start?
Huh. Yeah. So both for case studies and interviews, the actual answers, they do not matter. As long as you have a very stringent approach in your head, like this is what we have done. And if you could just provide a rationale behind why have I done this, I think that's just as good as getting like, the correct answer. So even for case studies, as I said, we do not have a very particular approach as to how we're going to solve it. So the thing is, in my part, I contacted a senior of mine who gave the same case study. I mean, the questions are not exactly same, but they align during the lines. So to sort of notify him that, okay, bhaiya, I'll be giving this. So do you have your set of questions that you gave in your time? So he had given me his case study. Like this was what came to me, and this is what I solved. So the thing is, even you start surfing on the internet to get some ZS campus weeds question, you'll never get one because there isn't any on the net. So he gave me one question to practice, and we had just practiced that one question. So the more you can gather questions year by year to because as much as you can, you won't find the questions of that level difficulty. Even if you start doing cat questions of data interpretation level, you'll still find that these questions are easier. So the thing is, the more you can collect these questions from your seniors, that's what helps you. So the thing is, when it was my turn, I forgot to take screenshots, so I never had my questions. But I had this version from Bhaiya, like the one I had consulted that time. So he had given me his questions to practice from. So I practiced that, and I had no idea we had to make PPTs for the answers and all. So he told me that you just keep your PPT handy. So you'll in that session also we had to send PPTs while making it to the campus beats people. That's how it was. About resources for guesstimates, I can tell you. So thing is, if you open YouTube and just search guesstimates, you'll have a multitude of things. But me personally speaking, I started off with something called, there was a site, wait a second, YouTube. There's a channel called Case Interviews Cracked. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but there's a specific channel called Case Interviews Cracked. It's run by 2 to 3 people from IIT Bombay, I guess. These are alumni. They worked few years for BCGs or some BMBB, I'm not sure. And they have this channel. They have exactly 4 videos. Okay, literally 4 videos, 1 hour long. That's when I started learning. That's where's the route as to how you can approach a case study. They teach you from scratch as to what things are, what is expected of you, and the sort of the mentality and body language you hold on to while solving a case study. Sorry, solving a guesstimate. So that's where I started solving guesstimates from. So thing is, there's one more thing that usually pops up in an interview is they can give you a random case, okay, to solve a case. So, I mean, that did not pop up in my interview though, but the thing is that can be a case sometimes. So I followed a book called Case in Point. Okay, you can even avail this free PDFs over the internet. It's available. There are certain questions that is very, very streamlined to it. So even those questions are very qualitative in nature. You don't have to crunch numbers or you don't have to solve anything to get to an answer. The questions are arranged in such a manner that they give you, let's say, a 1 or 2 paragraph case, and they tell you to extract insights out of it. Like if a company's sales are not increasing, what could be the reason? Those sort of questions. They will never ask you that, okay, how much profit do I need to make this year to balance out the losses that I had 3 years back, something like that. I mean, they won't be asking questions like that. So you can follow that book for case study purposes, qualitative case study purposes. You won't find quantitative ones in there, just qualitative ones. So about guesstimates, I would say to add on a little bit further, you can start off by those what do we say, those YouTube videos, and even they have a book, case interviews cracked, sort of PDF that's available online. You will find guesstimates in every sec. As the 4 videos are basically divided into 4 different categories. So each category, there's different set of questions in those PDF. So you'll probably find that somewhere if you search the internet. Or I think I have that book. I can share to Ritvik or Rishita anytime if they want. I'll I'll do that.
Surely.
So that's how you can progress with the guesstimates. And see, to be very honest, this guesstimate thing is you can only master the guesstimate part if you keep on doing that on regular basis. Personally speaking, I think I used to do at least 2 guesstimates each day, because if you see a proper case, like a proper guesstimate interview over YouTube, there's usually a flow to it. Like the person who's interviewing and the person who's getting interviewed, there's always a sort of constant conversation between them. Okay, so if the guy who's giving the interview sort of stops midway and doesn't have any idea as to what he's trying to do or what he was trying to do, and he's not going anywhere after that, so the best way to actually, move forward is to involve the interviewer. So to keep involving the interviewer on a regular basis, you need to practice more. So like ऐसा नहीं कि the interview will just give you hints out of the blue, like ले ले इसको क्या पता, you'll get something out of it. That's never going to be the case. So you have to make the interviewer justify that, see, I am stuck here and I'm stuck here because I do not have this exact number. So if you have a rough estimate as to what that number could be so that I can move forward, or you can just simply ask that this is my approach. Do you think there's a better approach than this? Or so that I'll think in a different way and give you the same answer. So that's how so it helps. Anything else you want me to
Also,
cover in this part?
So,
Yeah.
Bhaiya, when did you start practicing these guesstimates and case studies? Like prior, how many months before the placement season? If you could guide
Yeah.
us a bit.
So, yeah. Your placement seasons start, I think, around Aprilish, right? Sorry, I'm not.
Uh,
When do they start?
Mostly like after summers.
Yeah, after summer, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, I kind of started dedicating my time towards guesstimates around the time when Campus Beats started its first case study round because I was not pretty sure as to how I'm going to be progressed to the further rounds. So I just consulted the seniors like, "Bhaiya, kya karna hota hai? What is it I'm supposed to do?" He's like, "Okay, if you're not sure as to what your life looks like in a couple of months later, scene. So you can just start off by these guesstimate things." So I think if you could start 2 months prior to your placement season and just do two guesstimates each day, and I think two guesstimates is not a very big ask. Honestly, if you could work properly, I think both of them can be completed in an hour and a half at max. Okay. So dedicating 1 hour a day. I know it's difficult in college scenes because I've been there, I've done that. So, but I think it's not a very big ask. I mean, two guesstimates per day, and that's it for 2 months. And there might be a shortage of questions at some point. कि Like, kya karna hai abhi? I mean, I've done almost all kinds of question and all kinds of categories. So it needs to be something I need to do out of the box. So the more you keep searching the internet, you'll get more and more questions. So just try to do two, 3 questions each day, at least two. You can do more as you want. At least 2 questions a day, you're good to go.
Thank you so
That
much,
was
Bhaiya.
really insightful for our juniors. Via. So, Via, what are the required and must skills that you must secure before entering into the analytics and consulting sector? Like it had to be done, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think I got answer to that question after joining the corporate sector. So I would honestly suggest just learn Excel. I mean, that's the bread and butter. That's the Bible of every data analyst. So it's not sure as to what sort of softwares you'll ever use, what sort of data analytics tool you'll ever use, but be rest assured that any sort of consulting firm you get into, Excel is something you'll definitely use. So no one's saying you to learn advanced Excel right now because you'll never probably have a possible use case of it. So you might learn right now, you might note it down somewhere, but eventually you will get the hang of it when you start working. So at least having intermediate level skill in Excel is something you're going to be very sought out for. So one thing you should be very proud of, or looking forward to is skill in Excel. And it honestly doesn't even matter if you have these skills in other tools such as Tableau or Power BI because the use case will be very limited. And honestly, you can start to learn that even while you're working. It's not very difficult. So if I could give you an example, thing is when I was, I think it was when I started joining ZS. So I used to refresh a weekly sales report, and to do that, it used to take me 3.5 hours. Okay, almost half of your day is gone refreshing one single report. So fast forward 6 months, I automated the report in such a manner that I do the same work in 30 minutes. So the thing is, you need to learn certain things in Excel so that you do certain thing. So what we used to do is we used to refresh that report. We used to get the output from a different sheet, and we used to update a deck out of it. So it was a three-step process. Like you need to paste the raw data for sure. You need to paste it. You'll have to make changes in 8 different tabs. Then after doing changes in 8 different tabs, you used to go to the output page and find what the entire last output is. Take that output. I mean, first, of course, you have to check whether output is correct or not. I mean, that goes without saying. Check that first and then update a deck. But currently, what we do is we paste three raw datas in one page. We press enter. We paste this. There's something called macros. You learn that eventually as you grow up. So you click a button somewhere, and voila, it turns from Excel to PPT. I know it sounds magic, but when I saw that for the first time, when I did that for the first time, like, wow, it looks good. But I was doing the same thing with like 3.5 hours. I do that in 30 minutes. So that's what I meant to say. Like the more you like, it took me like 4 months to do that. But if you were more well versed with formulas and all, you could do that. You could start learning that 2.5 months. So into the game. So yeah, that's what I meant. Start learning Excel as much as you can because that's something that's going to help you a lot. You'll be using extensively. So anywhere, any place you go for a data analyst role, you need Excel. So yeah, and one more thing I think you can focus on is the communication, because you deal with clients on a regular basis, and more importantly, you need to understand what these guys are talking. And it's not that they want to have something from your side and you're delivering something else to them. It's, I mean, it's okay that you can get it clarified a couple of times before actually submitting them, but it's preferred that you understand that properly in a single go. So what happens that sometimes the clients get a little bit confused as to what they exactly want. That's also the case sometimes. So you need to clarify them that, okay, is this exactly what you want? Because I know I can do that for you, but you need to be sure that this is what you want. Because when you deliver that, they'll be like, okay, it's okay, I wanted this, but can you add me this? Can you do this? So can you add something a little extra over there? So you need to get things clarified a lot before, getting things straight. So communication is a must, because that might not seem a very important aspect, because sometimes we take that for granted. Like, हाँ, क्या English ही तो बोलना है जाके. It's not very difficult. But honestly, when you're presenting a screen to your clients, you're doing work right in front of them, and they're saying like, do this, that, right in front of you. So yeah, you might get fumbled a little bit, and you might not be even sure as to what you're doing is correct or not, or what you've understood from them is correct or not. So yeah, first I think you should get on with your Excel. Second, have a decent communication skill. I think that's pretty much you can take on forward.
Sure, Bear. Thanks a lot. We'll definitely note that. Uh,
Yeah.
so, Rishita, yeah.
But yeah, would you like to highlight like any incident or any particular challenge that you faced during your internship or the placement season, and how did you overcome it? Like any challenge or anything you thought like
Okay.
something like that sort.
See, so coming from ID, there's always a little bit of a pressure upon you, a little bit of an added pressure. And I don't want to segregate branches at all, but I think that sometimes you feel a little bit like things are not happening for you as they're supposed to. So even in my friend circle, I think I got the internship at the last, because these guys are already gotten theirs, and it took me quite some time to process that. I was very pessimistic about will I ever get a email response from any of the professors, because 2.5 months is a long, long time, and sometimes it doesn't click for that long. You start losing hope. कि like, yeah, नहीं होगा यार, 2 महीने से भेज रहा हूँ mail. There's no one single reply. It's got to be something. So my, I think, response to that would be just keep on sending mails. It happens, because I almost lost hope in that either. Or try to pounce upon opportunities as much as you can. Placement season, I don't think I had a lot of thing to face as a challenge, because this thing came on before even the placement season started. So I had a job before placement season started, so I did not face a lot of issue during that regard. I mean, I consider myself lucky in that aspect, because not a lot of people could say that. It was a really fresh period when you see your friends, working so hard to get their jobs done and everything. You feel a little bit lighthearted, like when you try to think that what would be the scenario if I were in their shoes. You see your friends getting placed and all. It can be very overwhelming, honestly. But yeah, the thing is, you need to keep working, and there is no shortcuts to success. This is something you should learn from the beginning. You can try as much as you can and give your best. Things happening, not happening, you just don't have them in your control. So worrying about them, I don't think it's going to make much a difference. So it's more about, are you willing to walk the extra mile when they ask you to? So just keep hanging in there, and things will happen. Okay, there's no different rule towards it.
Thank you, Baya. That was very motivating. I hope it helps the students. So, moving on to the next section, we'll have questions from the comment section, the top questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be going through the questions asked by students in the chat box. So there is one question from Soumyashri. She
Yeah.
mentioned that is it fine if I mention ML projects in my CV instead of any EDA, SQL, or Power BI projects, or should I mention at least one data analytics relevant project?
No, no. I think any project works as long as you can explain it to them. Okay, see, when you're doing an ML project, you should know that ML is used for forecasting. Okay. The thing is, we do not use them in like the thing is, Excel can be used to do anything. So they primarily do not use ML, but having ML as a knowledge is always an add-on to you. So if you have projects on ML, keep them handy because they'll eventually ask you as to what you did in those projects. And the major part of it is that you should be able to explain that to them that, okay, I used ML to do this. And you should be very clear as to what your input was and what your output was, what you wanted at the end. If you can explain that to them, you can sell it back to them. I think it doesn't really matter what sort of project you have done. It's more about the sort of intent and the sort of purpose of it. I think that's what matters. I mean, when you talk about data
So
analytics project, the thing is there is no such thing as a data analytics project. You'll basically have a set of data and you'll draw some insight out of it. So when you term something as a data analytics project, it sounds a little bit weird, but yeah, that project can just help you to let the interview know that yes, you do possess the skills to, synthesize insights out of this data. So anything is just as good as it's in a CV, only if you can explain it. So there's that.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question that we have is from Suneet Sao. He's asking, what advice would you like to give to get a remote internship as data analyst?
Okay, see, I'm a little bit curious as to what the emphasis is on. Is it on remote or is it on the data analyst part? Because, see, as long as it's an internship, it doesn't matter if it's a remote one or a non-remote one. So, see, data analyst thing, as I said to you, that if you are seeing that you are a bit devoid of the opportunities, what you have to do is go around the LinkedIn and search like data analyst roles. See, you cannot always look for the monetary benefits they provide you because I even did an unpaid internship, but that honestly doesn't matter anymore. Like whether it was remote or it wasn't remote, even if the professor had called me like come back to Calcutta, I would have gone to him. So the thing is, when you're talking about data analyst, as I said you before, try to brush up your skills a lot, and more importantly, as an Excel, because when you have, see, you might have certificates of intermediate level, advanced level Excel, but the thing is, when someone asks you to do certain thing in a short span of time, if you're not able to do that, then the credibility of that certificate actually vanishes away. So try to learn as much Excel as you can and try to apply it as for data analyst role next. I think you should know that by now that you can filter your you know searches for jobs in LinkedIn. I think it's something you should know by now if you're in the current final year and pre-final year guys. So you can filter in the job section for your LinkedIn the sort of roles you want to see, the places you want to see. If you want them to be remote or you want them to be in a particular location, you can do that. So you'll keep on getting constant notifications from them that I still get internship opportunities from different some startups and all. I'm like, okay, but yeah, you can get that. So you on a regular basis you keep on getting them. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, that was really helpful here. We'll go with the question for Sunit. According to you, what could be the best possible way to prepare for case study and guesstimates? I guess it's already covered in the session.
Yeah.
So we'll go with the next question from Ankur. As the evolution of AI is going to affect many industries, do we also need to skill up according to that?
Okay. See, I'm not sure how am I supposed to answer to this, but see, AI has been in the market for quite some time now, and I do not see how it has impacted my job in particular, to be honest, because sometimes, see, if I were a coder or something, I might think that my job's in danger 12 out of 10 times. For sure. I would have been. But when I'm working on an Excel, I'm unable to find an answer for something. Uh, it is also encouraged in our firm to if you want to use ChatGPT for certain answers, you can always do that. And even I have had times when I used to go out there and see in ChatGPT like I want this. I had a hard time doing the prompt, but after the end you get something out of it and you use it. So that's fine. It's not very difficult to do. So when you talk about do we need to skill up according to that, I don't think you need to skill up according to that because I mean, uh, what do we call that? Computers versus humans war is a very long thing, a very fast-stretched thing. It's not going to be anytime soon. So don't worry about it. As long as you're working on Excel, I don't think your computer is gonna AI is gonna run your Excels for you currently. I mean, they might be doing somewhere the other side of the planet, but I'm not sure. We're not doing it. So don't worry, it's okay. You don't have to skill, you don't have to pace up with the computers as of now.
Thank you, Priya. The next question that we have is also from Ankur Kumar. Okay, so this is a very frequently asked question from students. The question is, what would be the minimum CGPA for setting for the most of the companies? Decent
Okay.
CGPA. What do you think?
See, honestly, in my opinion, I think a decent CG would be somewhere around the range of 8 to 8.5. I think it's your safest guess or your safest bet, you could say. I mean, I don't think any company is gonna let you not sit in their process just because your CG is low. So I feel you should have at least an 8. I mean, I know it's a no pressure thing. It's not something that defines a lot of things about you, how skillful you are or how much you possess as a person. But if company has this policy that I won't recruit someone below 8, so that's when your actual credibility comes to question. Like CGPA was important. If you ask someone that is CGPA important or not, I don't know if anyone could give a more legitimate answer. But the thing is, when you talk about the CGPA thing, I think 8 is the benchmark you should keep. 8 to 8.5. You don't have to be a 9 pointer or something. Just 8 and 8.5 would work anytime.
Thank you, Priya.
Sure, well,
And
thanks a lot.
Yeah,
with this, I hope all the queries and relevant questions have been covered by us. So we don't
So,
have.
if there aren't any more questions, I guess we can conclude this session. Okay. So,
Thank you for
thank you
being
so
here.
much.
yeah. Thanks a lot.
It
Thanks
was
for
a
having me.
pleasure. It was a pleasure to have us over here. And
Yeah,
this was
same.
truly an incredible session. We got to know a lot of things, and I hope so many students they got their answers and many doubts have been solved. So thank you
Yeah,
very
sure. Yeah,
much.
yeah. Happy to help always. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.